My name is Brad Emery, and this is the case study for Module 14, a new role for the parents organization. So this case is about a principal who is addressing a new parent-teacher organization that has formed after they separated from the PTA last spring. They have currently met with the principal and desire more input into the school decisions and policies. At this point, we know of no legal issues that have arisen, though as you see in the slide here, the principal does have some concerns over the level to which the parents want to become involved with the educational policy and decision making. And he's unsure at this point in time about the legal implications and ramifications of what that would look like. So to synthesize what's happened here, parents have formed a new organization or a new association and desire a greater role in decision making in the school, and in doing so have taken the principal by surprise with their initiative. So what are the facts in this case? Well, we have the principal who was a little bit wary when the organization of parents separated from the PTA at the national level and the state level the previous year. The parents organization, the representatives and president of the group seem like they're fairly young and have some very progressive ideas and are approaching this in a very bold and open way without a whole lot of collaboration or input up to this point with the school and the leaders within, which has caused a little bit of tension or at least unwariness, or rather wariness from the principal. We know that educators are going to be involved in the decision making here, as well as the Board of Education, whatever happens with this situation, though they haven't been brought on yet to our knowledge. The place is unknown for this case study. It could be anywhere. It would be nice to have a little bit more demographic information that could help sort out some of what's going on with these parents, but we don't have that, so we'll work with what we have. Likewise, the program is unknown. What we do know, or what we assume, based on what I've read within this study, is this is a public school. We know that the parents are eager to and want to be involved with the school, and we'll discuss that a little bit more as we continue. So this is a touchy situation that we see. We're stepping in at a point in time where there's some decisions that need to be made. There's some parents that need to be addressed and visited with. And we see that there's a lot of stakeholders who really are going to gain or lose a lot in this resolution. We know that the parents are involved here, and they have a big say and a big stake in this. We know that the educators also, they're not really mentioned in the case study, but we know that they have a large role to play, and the principal and other administration also will have a large impact on the way this all pans out. So as you can see, all stakeholders are affected. The parents, the educators, the administration, and by those primary stakeholders being affected, we also are going to see kind of a trickle-down effect with the students and the community surrounding this event also, particularly if it goes poorly in the way that this is handled. But we would see some positive effects if this is handled smoothly also. As far as more information about the situation or knowing enough to make a decision, I don't feel like we have enough information at this point in time. And some of the information that I would like to ascertain as the principal is what's the background behind this shift, this move from the parents and a push for more input. It seems like he was kind of surprised, a little bit blindsided by this. And so I think my first steps as the principal, as the administrator in a situation like this, would be to talk with the parents and just figure out why are they wanting this, and try to remember that this is a good thing that the parents want more input, but if we can figure out where their desire is coming from, we've got a better chance of making sure that their desires and their needs are met, and that we're not just addressing a different issue than what they really want to know. We want to make sure that we're inquiring about any concerns the parents have, any slights or perceived slights that might have taken place over the years. that cause them to change direction in what appears to be a pretty radical way. And I think it would be really important to seek a sampling of teacher input as well once you know a little bit more from the parents. You're going to want input from the board and the upper administration as well before making any decisions in a situation like this. So as far as options, we want to look at all the possibilities. So on the far edges of the spectrum, we can take no action, ignore the situation, hope that it blows over and goes away. Probably not a good choice. We'll discuss the pros and cons of that in a moment. Or on the other end of the spectrum, you can, as the principal, take charge, let them know who's in control and who is in charge and who has the authority in this situation, put down these clear lines of power, and just let the parents know that you are the administrator and you are the one in control. Again, probably not the best solution, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. As far as other options, they range from just accepting the parents' offer and rolling with what they've mentioned, or creating a compromise. We can dig deeper into this situation to find the root of the problem and then address it from there. Or you have the opportunity as the principal to kind of adjust your perspective. It sounds like during that meeting, this kind of rocked his view and surprised him. So taking the time to slow down and make sure his perspective is where it needs to be, and responding proactively would be another option. So as far as pros and cons, as we mentioned on the no action, that's probably not going to end well. You're going to incite parents, if they're at the point where they're coming to you and discussing something like this, it's not just going to blow over. It's not just going to go away. And by taking no action, you're not only going to cause frustration and anger and have some upset parents, you're probably going to lose control of the situation, which we certainly wouldn't want. On the other end of that, responding with force and authority and pushing those what seem to be clear lines are going to prove to you that they're probably not as clear as you thought they were to begin with. You might not have as much authority as you thought you did. And you're also going to isolate the parents. You're going to really create tension and frustration and anger within this new organization that potentially could have a lot of power and a lot of sway in your school. And that's just not going to start everything off on a good foot. So that resentment, that pushback will not be an ideal situation. So as far as some of these other options, accepting the parents' offer, you're going to make the parents happy, but your reactions from your educators and parents and certainly your superiors, if you don't address that with them before just accepting an offer like that, are probably going to run into some problems. So really, I think it's important to not take that option, but look in for a little more information. You can create a compromise and everyone gets what they want, but they don't get everything that they want. And this is much more realistic situation. This is the way that things work in the real world. Nobody's going to get everything that they're wanting, but if you can come up with a mutual compromise, that's going to be a better situation. We mentioned digging deeper to find the root of the situation, and the benefits of this is you get a little more information, and hopefully this will better allow you to address the problem at hand. So taking the time to figure out, well, why are the parents seeking this control? What do they really want? Is it more input, or is there something behind the desire for more input that we can address in a way that's going to make them happy, that's going to give them more input, because that is a positive thing for our schools, but still maintain those school and educator and parent boundaries to serve the kids best. I think at this point it's really important that you're engaging with the parents and not just making assumptions or guessing as to what they want or what they might want. And our other option, we could adjust our perspective and respond proactively. So taking the time to look for positives in this situation. You've got parents that, instead of being apathetic and are only there sometimes, now are coming to your office and telling you they want to be more involved with all aspects of the school day. They want to know more about their kids' education. They want to become involved with that. They want to talk with the teachers and know what's going on in the classrooms. And isn't this what we as educators are wanting from parents? And so even though this would rock you as an administrator and throw you off and might make you defensive, if you can slow down for a minute, you might realize this is really a positive thing that they're wanting from this. So taking that time to adjust your perspective and looking at this from this is a good thing, then it gives you the opportunity to run with what works and tweak what's not working or adjust what needs to be adjusted. So as you can probably figure out at this point, I believe the best option would be to adjust our perspective and respond proactively. It meets the needs of those parents that are wanting to be involved. We're taking that instead of being defensive about it. We're going to figure out, well, how exactly can you be involved? What are the finer points of what they're looking for? What are they saying that's behind that involvement to make sure that their needs are met, to make sure we're leveraging their strengths, that we have these shared goals in which we're growing together, and that ultimate goal of making these students productive members of society. And so we want to talk with the parents, we want to engage with them, we want to bring them into the fold, so to speak, so that they're interacting with the Board of Education, so they're interacting with all the administration, so that educators have an input as well. We want to get their side of things. We really want to bring those educators and the parents together so that they can collaboratively visit back and forth, kind of bounce ideas off of one another. And we're going to have to be real careful with that to make sure tempers don't flare up and we don't lose sight of the end goal of our students. But I think in doing something like this, not only will everyone benefit, most of all the students, what we're going to do is we're going to model these real world skills, these critical thinking, these 21st century skills of working together, of proactively approaching a problem, and the students are going to see that, and the community is going to see that, and that's really going to have a positive effect on everyone. And even though the work will be a lot more difficult, taking this solution, the payoff in future years is really going to be worth it, in my opinion. So as we mentioned, we want to collaborate with all the stakeholders. First and foremost, in my mind at this point, from the principal's perspective, is those parents. And as I've mentioned a couple of times, need to figure out what's going on behind the scenes. They've formed committees. They've decided they want to dip their toes and jump in outright into all areas of your education and your school, and you need to figure out what's behind that. Why this change, and why haven't you as the principal been notified, and make sure you're on good terms with the parents before anything else happens. And with that in mind, I think that's a great opportunity to discuss those shared goals and just always bring it back to we all want what's best for the students. We all have different perspectives to share on that, and so let's make sure we get together and share those and listen and work together for the good of the students. Working closely with parents, with educators, with administration, with the Board of Education, and even stepping outside those bounds and getting input from the community and from students to make sure that we hear all thoughts, all ideas, we take those into account, and as much as possible, we want to plan for eventualities because things aren't going to go the way we think they are in a situation like this. Everyone's got their own ideas, their own opinions on the way things should go, and you're never going to be able to plan for all those. So I think the biggest thing you can do to plan for the stuff that's impossible to plan for is remembering everyone wants what's best for these kids. And so rather than get defensive and worked up and push for my ideas, it's really going to be important that we look at it from the perspective of our goal is students who receive the best education they can. And I think if we can keep that perspective in mind, then we can roll with a lot more disagreements and different perspectives than we would otherwise. And so I do think this would be the best solution and the best way to bring this to a satisfying conclusion and really create a community and a school culture that will flourish for years to come. Thank you for listening, and thank you for the time in this class.